posted on BISP regarding the SAP HANA demo, in which we have discussed few things about or basic stuff about SAP HANA, what exactly SAP HANA stands for, what does in-memory basically is, and how this curriculum is going to be processed and proceed. Well, I'll try to give a quick recap at the end. The last 5 minutes of the session will be dedicated for the quick recap of the whole content which we are going to cover, because I can see there are people with those are new today. So let's plot it up agenda for the day, and then we can start. If you have any kind of queries, you can write it in the chat. Those queries will be taken up at the end of the session by unmuting you. All right, so today we are going to cover up, it's a continued session of the previous one. So basically, our agenda for the day will be understanding the landscape of SAP, also need to understand the perspective of SAP HANA, basically with the BW, with business object BI, and business object data services. And then the basic information regarding SAP HANA with perspective of OLTP and OLAP systems. So as I mentioned, guys, for today's agenda, we are going to talk about the SAP landscape, which is really important to talk about, as this application belongs to SAP. We must need to talk about how does it interact with other applications belonging from SAP. Well, we know that very well. SAP is popular because of its ERP system, which is nothing but SAP ERP. So guys, to make it clearly define or make you understand how does landscape look like, I'm going to draw a neat diagram which is going to give you a full understanding about the integration and the communication between the applications we are having from SAP. As I mentioned, there are two types of system. Usually we take it over, SAP system and non-SAP system. Well, the SAP system is those system which belongs to SAP, and non-SAP system or non-SAP data sources are those data sources which are not belonging to SAP in general. Well, in SAP source system, I can include my first and prime ERP software, CRM, SRM. In other hand, in non-SAP, we can have it all the traditional DB, trade DB, traditional databases like Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, DB2, etc., etc. Not only that, but the flat files and other legacy system, whatever we have, which is working as a source. As this is the bottom part of it, it is going to talk about the source. All right. So these are my two different categories of sources at the bottom. Well, we also know that pretty well SAP, as I mentioned, it is popular because of its ERP software. It do have another application which is the second largest revenue generator in it before the SAP Business Object and HANA has come up. Well, that application is your OLAP application, or we used to call it end-to-end data warehousing application called SAP BW. This SAP BW application is well communicating with these two category of sources we are having in enterprise. SAP system and non-SAP system. On top of both of it, I can do designing of my end-to-end data warehousing. Well, we'll talk about what exactly data warehousing a little later, once we have this landscape clear. In this BW, which is featured with end-to-end data warehousing, that means, in general, the end-to-end data warehousing means modeling plus ETL plus reporting. Altogether is nothing but used to bring up a data warehouse. Modeling, ETL, and reporting. Altogether, they are going to bring up a data warehouse. A system which is basically designed for analytical processing. All right, so this application is capable of doing modeling, ETL, and reporting all together in one environment, where the modeling feature of SAP is quite decent and robust, whereas the ETL is also robust in this category. The reporting part of BW is lagged because it was supported by third-party software called Excel from Microsoft. Due to the today's era requirement which we are running on, which is basically going to be called as analytical era, in this era, the reporting is very keen aspect in an industry. And the day-to-day, whatever report is going to be generated demands a high-level calculation and presentation. As a result, the SAP BW was start lagging, and those clients, those who were using it, they start asking from SAP to upgrade the reporting side of the BW, where they have come up with acquisition of SAP Business Object, a business intelligence tool from market. All right. So there is an application acquired by SAP called Business Object in 2007, where the acquisition has been finalized and they have started using it from 2008 onward, this product. We call it nowadays SAP Business Object Business Intelligence application. So this application is full featured with all kind of reporting requirement in industry inside the SAP and outside the SAP. Well, the purpose of this tool was to provide a better reporting functionality to BW and to be stand alone in the market in BI category. Whereas it is already popular in the market in a BI category, and it is also supporting BW for reporting functionality. So now the clients, those who are having a SAP BW implemented, they can start using business object at their side, and they can strengthen the BW reporting side. Whereas the modeling in ETL was already robust, already decent and powerful. They're just going to integrate the SAP BI to SAP BW by using a new connector which SAP has introduced in 2011 in its new version called Business Object Business Intelligence 4.0 XIR4. And they've given us a connector for connecting BI, the SAP Business Object to BW called BICS connection. This native connection has been provided to give better connectivity or better integration between these two applications. So the connector which we are having it to connect with SAP BW to SAP BI is BICS. Well, what we usually do, we do a model designing, and we used to transport the entire data coming from the sources by transforming it into the model, respectively into the dimension and their respective facts. Once the dimension and fact has been loaded, the star schema structure will come alive. Based on that star schema structure or snowflake structure, we'll design queries under the tool called BEX Query Designer. So SAP BW having a BEX Query Designer tool. If you guys don't know about that, even if don't worry about that, I'll brief you a little bit. And once we go on with the session on the tool side, we'll see that each and every part of it. So BW has a reporting part where the major reporting part has been handled by a third-party tool called Microsoft Excel, whereas the query designing side has been handled by BEX Query Designer. So once we designed the query under the BW, we used to publish them into the repository of BW, and then through the BICS connection, we can connect to BO to BW repository, and we can take up those BEX queries into BO, and we can start reporting underlying to it. That means the BEX query has been designed in BW, now been utilized in BO BI with all the functionality what it has. So this tool meets the modern era, which is nothing but analytical era. As a result, those clients, those who are using BW integrated with business object, they can easily populate or design lot many different kind of interactive and ad hoc report at their end. Not only that, when the business object business intelligence has been acquired by SAP, they have also acquired all other applications or other tools they had, in which they have also acquired a tool called Business Object Data Services. Which was previously known as BODI, Business Object Data Integrator. That means it's a EIM tool. This application is basically for enterprise information management, or in general, in layman language, we call it ETL tool. Technically, it's a EIM tool, whereas in general, we call it ETL tool. And this is your pure business intelligence tool. So as this tool is also been acquired, by SAP to provide SAP family independent ETL functionality if you want to come up or if you required it. So now this BODS has the capacity to take up a data directly and indirectly from the sources. Means I can take data directly from the sources, or else it has been well integrated with the BW, and it can help BW to do those transportations of data which was not directly possible in SAP BW, as it is a full-fledged ETL tool in the market. Whereas in the middle of this innovation, SAP was also with the major impact in the market with its in-memory system called SAP HANA. Well, in-memory computing, SAP is not new. They had already BWA to support BW to provide in-memory computing. That was happened on the demand of the customer earlier, where there were no plan of innovation of SAP HANA. When Kapil Sikka comes into the SAP, they have started an innovation of SAP HANA by using an existing system well tested at the SAP side. So clients having a lot of issues when they are integrating lot many applications to get a simple in-memory functionality by using a BWA and BW. Instead of that, they start looking for something which can give them more reliability and flexibility in terms of architecture and in terms of infrastructure, where SAP HANA has come up with a lot of hopes and dreams to their area. So this was actually formally announced in 2011. SAP HANA, a database, not traditional, but in memory. Well, guys, the in-memory database, I can say that in general, it's a database which has a capacity to hold up data in its volatile memory. And the volatile memory exists in our computer is nothing but a RAM. So we can store data instead of mechanical disk drive or magnetic disk drive. We can hold up a data into the RAM, and that makes us increase the performance of input and output, which used to be a bottleneck before in a general computing. And that is the major impact what HANA provides us to the industry. It gives you a faster access of the data. Doesn't matter what kind of system you are using it. I mean, the whole enterprise has been divided into two parts, the operational part and the analytical part. The operational parts deal with how to run their business and how to manage the data, whereas the analytical part used to use those data which is being managed to understand the perspective of business and the growth of a business. So these two sides is now been strengthened by SAP HANA to its flexibility. I mean, it can be used on both the sides. It can be used on OLTP system and it can be used in OLAP system as well. Well, it's even tightly integrated with BW, which now a popular system. We call it BW powered by HANA. Well, before when we had BW, the certified database is used for it was Oracle SQL Server or sometime DB2. But now when BW powered by HANA has started coming up, they are providing us BW with integrated HANA database that can easily provide us a faster access of input and output of data within the BW through SAP HANA. That means I can use the system it any way. I can use the system in any aspect. Like, let me talk about that aspect in the next slide into it, and then we can come back. I mean, here is the HANA database, and here is my SAP BW. Now, what happened? SAP BW powered by SAP HANA has an underlying HANA database. So instead of a traditional databases, if SAP BW is using HANA database, it increases its performance of taking data and giving an output of data. That means transacting data and analyzing the data, both has been enhanced. And it has been recorded that, according to the research, two different systems, one integrated with HANA and other integrated with traditional databases, has been tested with similar kind of records, like 10 million records have been, a million record have been processed. So in traditional system, it took around 70 minutes. Whereas the same amount of data has been processed by SAP HANA system, where they haven't mentioned what reporting tool they have used it, but they used to commit it. It used to take it 70 seconds to process the same amount of data by using SAP HANA system or SAP HANA database. So you can see the power of in-memory when it is going to be supplied in real time. So we have a scenario. We can use SAP HANA in both the aspect of the industry, in OLTP and in OLAP world. Both sides we can easily use it. So I can say that how does it is going to be happen in SAP HANA if it is only a database? Because as of now, we have only said it's a database. It's an in-memory database. Fine with that. If it is an in-memory database, it can support a transaction world to store records or capture records into it fastly. But how come it is going to support us to read the data quickly? Is there anything which can help us to provide a faster access of data? So I can say that yes, HANA is not only about a DB, it's more than that. Well, in general, we call it's a database, memory database, or it's an appliance, which is a combination of hardware and software, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, it is more than a DB. It do have an integrated UI system called HANA Studio. That UI provides us a functionality, but that provides us a platform where we can design and where we can do high-level calculation for my analytical needs. And those calculations can be done on HANA Studio and can be transported further up into the HANA cubes, so that when those cubes are going to be utilized on the reporting platform, it will be quite easy for any end user to populate the report having a complex background. So it do have a HANA Studio, a GUI software integrated with the HANA system or HANA server to provide a modeling feature to it. We call it modeling feature in SAP HANA. Well, it is not a traditional modeling which we do for designing of your entity relationship diagram or dimension modeling, but it is different than that. HANA has its own modeling way, which help us to get better analytical sources or to perform a complex calculation before it is going to be transported into the reporting platform. All right, so that is what the HANA Studio basically going to do that. And we'll see that what are the basic models which HANA Studio supports. All right, so HANA Studio is the front end on which we are going to work most of the time, not only for the modeling, for the several other tasks involved or related to SAP HANA. If you are a DBA, if you need to manage the HANA database, you can use your studio to manage your database. That means the studio is not only for the developers, but for all. Usually we have three different, or usually we used to have it two different roles involved in any application. One will be the administration, the other will be development. Well, HANA has the three perspective. Being as a database, it has a role of DBA, administrators, and developers. So developers also can work on HANA Studio. Administrators do have a lot of operation they can manage or they can do from the HANA Studio. Not only that, the HANA DBAs, they can use the UI or the front end for a lot of HANA database management. So that's the HANA Studio, which provides us basic modeling, as the perspective of this curriculum is more inclined to the development side, so that we can learn all the functionality, including the administrative part of it. So we are talking about on that perspective. Well, by using this platform, we make this HANA database to be used in both the areas, OLTP and OLAP, both sides. So you may can ask one thing, what kind of OLAP system is it? So it is nothing but it is a relational OLAP system, or OLAP. If you are aware about the type of OLAPs we are having it, if not, I'll provide you the information further going on when we go on with this curriculum. So in that, we have a relational OLAP, which works on the relational phenomenon, the RDBMS. HANA follows the same, but it do have more. It do have more. It stores data not into the traditional manner only. The traditional aspect of any database to store data is row manner. Means the data used to be stored in a row manner. Whereas the HANA has row-based approach and column-based approach, both integrated inside it. So how does it is going to be happen? How does HANA is going to have these all functionalities integrated inside it? We'll come to that point little later after a few minutes once we finish with the landscape of SAP. Like how does HANA do row-based approach and column-based approach? Coming back to the previous slide, as I mentioned, HANA has been integrated to BW by using ODBC and JDBC connectors. We have ODBC or JDBC connectors, which is going to be used for integrating this SAP HANA to BW. Also, we are going to use ODBC connectors to connect or integrate my BODS to SAP BW. Well, now in the market, and the new architecture is coming up, which is going to give you the end-to-end data warehousing functionality. And we can say that instead of designing a data warehouse in SAP BW, what you can do if you have a SAP HANA, SAP BOBI, and SAP BODS at their end implemented, you can design a data warehouse by using them. As HANA can work as a database and it has a modeling feature where the ETL can be done by the BODS and SAP BOBI can provide you the reporting functionality. As BOBI is a certified reporting tool for SAP HANA, it has also been tightly integrated in SAP HANA through HANA native connectors and ODBC connections. So I do have ODBC and HANA native connectors. HANA X dot. The HANA native connector and the ODBC connectors allowing us to get the data from SAP HANA DB, or I can say that the cubes which has been designed in SAP HANA now can be pushed into BOBI for designing of different kinds of report, where BOBI supports us with a variety of reporting functionality inside it. It do have an application which can give us a dashboard kind of reports, which is highly interactive reports in a report category. So that's our landscape in SAP. We have furthermore, but we cannot go more than that, as it is more than enough to understand that. So the perspective, what you can see in this SAP landscape, give you an idea and overview about it. How does other applications of SAP has been integrated to SAP HANA? Well, that is what we are going to understand and learn in this curriculum from all aspects which I have sketched over here. We are going to use SAP BOBI as a reporting tool on top of SAP HANA for reporting functionalities. Not only that, we are also going to see the third-party reporting tools. How does it work if SAP HANA cubes are going to be used? What if I want to upgrade my SAP BW cubes into HANA cubes? How does it is going to interact with SAP HANA and pushed onto the HANA system? How does SAP BODS can support SAP HANA to provide we can say that the ETL functionality, or technically we call it data provisioning within the HANA. So we have a number of ways of data provisioning. BODS is one of the methods by which we take data, we move data within SAP HANA or in and out into HANA. Well, the one of the most important provisioning methods we are having used in SAP HANA nowadays is system landscape SLT approach, which is a real-time approach based functionality, which allows us to keep an eye onto the change of data on the real-time basis. So we'll talk about that more in further on in the complete session where we are going to take it on to the SLT. So this is what my landscape, and this is how all of the applications work together. You may can have a perspectives open in your mind. Now you might can have more visualization coming up in the mind further on based on the architecture side. So being as an architect, I always try to project more and more perspective on that side. Well, guys, coming back to the aspect what SAP HANA having it to have row-based approach and columnar-based approach. As I mentioned, it can work in both the side, OLTP and OLAP both the side. Well, we know that the traditional system of transactional world requires faster capturing of data from the business. Every time we visit any store like Walmart or DMart or Big Bazaar, we see there are people standing onto the billing counter. That billers or the operators, those who operate the billing counter, having a front end which is connected to the back end. And that is what the transactional system basically having it. Means there is a front end and there is a back end. That is what the transaction system is. But the transaction system database has to be so powerful that it can easily capture the data onto the data model designed on the basis of ER diagram. HANA stood very well, and HANA gives better performance on data capturing. We must need to understand that how does it is happening. It is not a traditional database, it's an in-memory database. So how does it is happening in there, in memory? Definitely there must be something which is helping it to get the performance or get the functionality into it. Well, as when it comes to transactional world, we required faster capturing of data. That means the row-based approach is oriented. The record used to be stored based on transaction to transaction. I mean, if the first transaction happened in a day, that will be recorded first. The transaction coming after that will be recorded later on, further in the sequence. So in OLTP side, the data used to be managed based on the record or based on the transaction, I can mention. So row-based approach is more oriented in OLTP system, in enterprise or any kind of business. Where HANA has a row-based approach which facilitate it to be set on the OLTP system. That is one aspect, okay? That allows me to be used HANA in OLTP side. That is a row-based approach. I can give you an example of it, of a row-based approach, what exactly it is, in general, not in detail. Believe that there is a record over here. The user ID or customer ID. The customer name is XYZ. belonging from New Jersey, United States of America. That is one record. Now another record is going to be stored in a row manner, could be ABC, New York, United States of America. Kind of that. Or maybe the city could be same if I am talking about a store or Walmart. All right. So this is nothing but the row-based approach. Row by row, the data is going to be stored from the transactional world to the database in a traditional system as well as in HANA database. What can happen if I'm going to separate this OLAP world and to be taken as a difference? This is happening. This is what happening into the OLTP side. What about the OLAP side? When I'm talking about the columnar-based approach in general, this is what going to be happened. Our traditional system doesn't support this both functionalities together at one side. That's why most of the places you might can see Oracle database, SQL Server, DB2, all of them are going to be used or recommended to be used on OLTP side. So now looking onto the column-based approach, which is used in SAP HANA, what it does, it stores the data in a columnar manner, which allows to do user to search the data. Whenever you do query, actually that query fires up onto the database and search out the data. So to search the data quickly, we can place all the data into the column rather than in a row, which can easily fetch data or fastly can fetch the data. So how does it is going to be happen? Look at over here, how it's going to be happen. Like we have a record X, Y, Z. So similar kind of record has been placed together, like X, Y, Z, A, B, C, then NJ, NJ, United States of America, USA, and 100 and 101. All right. This can be synchronized systematically also, means like we can place the keys up there and the rest of the things can be down there. But the approach, what I can say over here is this whole column is going to be searched. Or I can say that even if you go for the searching functionality which is supported inside SAP HANA by engine well tested in SAP called Trax, we have this column-based approach provided in SAP HANA in memory by an engine which is well tested in BWA called Trax. Trax engine. Trax. Trax support us, or Trax provide us to have column-based approach in in-memory system, where SAP is already tested this thing in BWA. So this is nothing new. What Kapil Sikka has did, they have picked all the components for designing SAP HANA, which is well tested previously. They have integrated all together in one side, and then they have given an in-memory database with a lot of other functionalities. So Trax is the engine which supports us for the searching functionality to store the data in the columnar manner in in-memory. So now if it is going to be search, it will search if I want to search, okay, where is the NJ? So what it does, it searches quickly on the each of the rows, and it will get the NJ quickly. Rather than keeping a data into the row, which takes a lot of time to find out the NJ, if it exists, suppose that if it exists onto the 20th or in the 1000th row of data, it is going to take hell of a time to find out. Instead of that, if it is going to be placed like this columnar based approach, it will be quite easy to find it out. And it will take less amount of time to do the operation. So I can say that it's a kind of work we are doing it like traveling by road or traveling by air. In both the cases we are traveling, but we are having a faster travel if we travel by air. So we are using some medium, column-based approach or column-based medium, which giving us a fast access in terms of analysis. So when it comes to analysis, we used to design or we used to store data in a columnar manner. When it comes to have a perspective of SAP HANA to be used in OLTP system, the data is going to be stored into the row manner. So that is what the basic of your row-based approach and columnar-based approach. We'll see further on, or you'll be provided with the document, supported document where you can go in detail about each and every aspect of it. So tracks is the one part of it. It do have a p-time database which support it to have a row-based approach in memory. The p-time database. Basically, it will be written as p star p-time database. P-time DB is an in-memory DB that facilitates SAP HANA to get data stored in a row manner in memory. Whereas you may can ask one thing, what if this volatile memory is going to be crashed down in an adverse situation or in any natural disaster case? How does the data is going to be preserved? How does the data security or data consistency can be maintained? How does we can have an assurance that we are not going to lose our valuable asset of data? Well, HANA has, it's not that HANA didn't touch that part as well. They have touched that part as well. And that is the prime thing what we have. Without taking a backup, we cannot proceed in memory. As a result, they have used a MaxDB database for the backup system. All right. So in a HANA system, we have MaxDB integrated to provide, to facilitate it with the backup functionality. So each time you get the data, periodically data going to be backed up into the MaxDB database. So you can say that, oh, it's a two database combination. Not really. What I'm talking about is the internal architecture of SAP HANA. It's a composite of these all three major parts. So this part of the world, if you talk about, if you looked very next day in architecture, formal architecture of HANA, we'll find this MaxDB lies onto the persistent layer. The layer used for backing up the data periodically is a persistent layer into the architecture. So I'm talking about the component wise, the formation of SAP HANA product. So these are the things which supports SAP HANA, which makes SAP HANA what it is basically is now. So guys, that's all from my end. So far, whatever we have planned up, we have discussed about it. We'll go on further on to the curriculum gradually by discussing each and every aspect of SAP HANA. Next 5 days, or I may can say that few days you may have more of the theoretical sessions. Once we come with all basic component required or all basic knowledge required of SAP HANA, we will start doing hands-on parallelly. Whereas once the full fledged of practical session will start on, we'll have 90% of practical taken up into the session. 10% of theoretical part will be there to brief about it, what exactly we are going to do today and how we are going to do today or on that day. Well, guys, now it's time to give you a chance to ask question if you are having.